I never expected my brother to claim my house at dinner. What happened next left us both shocked. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The warm glow of the setting sun painted the kitchen in gold. We gathered around the table, food steaming, laughter bubbling. I could feel my heart racing with excitement. Family dinners always felt so perfect, so safe. Yet the air crackled with a tension I couldn't shake. It was mid-bite when he dropped the bomb. My brother, Alex, sat there, his green eyes glinting, the corner of his mouth twitching. "I'm taking the house," he blurted out, his voice cutting through the laughter like a knife. My fork clattered to the plate. Silence fell. Shock registered on every face. My parents gasped in disbelief, mouths agape like fish out of water that I couldn't breathe. My heart thundered. This house was home. My refuge. My sanctuary. Memories filled every corner, from birthday parties to quiet nights. "What do you mean?" I stammered, disbelief bubbling in my throat. The bright kitchen dimmed. The smell of Mom's roast faded to a distant memory. Alex leaned back, a smirk forming. His fingers drummed against the table, steady like a ticking clock. It felt like betrayal. I searched his eyes, looking for the brother I knew, but all I saw was a stranger. "I'll pay you for it," he continued, as though that would make it okay. My parents exchanged glances, uncertainty swirling between them. I felt their disappointment, their confusion, and then a flicker of anger. "You're serious?" Mom's voice trembled. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, reflecting the devastation around us. Alex shrugged. "It's just business." The tension thickened, clinging to my skin. I wanted to scream. The walls felt like they were closing in. Every painful breath amplified the weight on my chest. We were more than just a family. We were a story woven together. I fought to stay calm, to maintain my composure. "You can't just take it." My voice cracked, and I hated how weak I sounded. "Friends don't do this. Brothers don't do this." The house held our memories, our laughter, our struggles. As voices rose and arguments began, I felt lost, like a child again, standing in the middle of a storm. I stole a glance at my mom. Her hands trembled as she reached for my dad. That simple touch spoke volumes. We were a team. We would get through this somehow. But the way Alex sneered made my blood run cold. The dinner that had started with joy had morphed into chaos. I didn't know how to fight back. Somehow, in this swirl of emotions, a question loomed larger than the rest. What had happened to my brother? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The night stretched on, shadows deepening as I retreated into my room. The familiar walls felt like a prison now, memories assaulting me from every corner. I sat on the edge of my bed, heart still racing, replaying the confrontation in an endless loop. How was it possible that Alex, my brother, could turn so cold? I pulled my knees to my chest, feeling the weight of the world pressing down. The laughter from earlier felt like another lifetime. I glanced toward the hallway, where the sounds of my parents' hushed arguments filtered through the cracks of my door. I could almost hear Mom's muffled cries, her disappointment echoing in the silence. The clock ticked loudly in the stillness, each beat a reminder that time was cruelly moving forward. I couldn't help but wonder how we'd reached this point. The brother who once stood by me during childhood battles now seemed like a stranger. I had always envisioned a future where we'd grow old reminiscing about our shared experiences, not fighting over a piece of real estate. With trembling hands, I reached for my phone. A message from Mia, my best friend, flashed on the screen. "You okay? I'm here if you need to talk." I hesitated for a moment, but I quickly typed back, "Not really. Can I come over?" 10 minutes later, I slipped out of the house, careful not to disturb my parents. The night air was cool against my flushed skin, a small relief from the turmoil swirling inside. I felt as if I'd been holding my breath for hours. Mia opened her door with concern etched across her face. Hey, what happened? She asked, leading me inside. The smell of her lavender candles and warm cookies enveloped me like a comforting embrace. I sank into her couch, the softness soothing my raw emotions that I poured out my heart, detailing the events of the dinner, each word punctuated by a mix of anger and pain. Mia listened intently, her eyes wide, absorbing my hurt. I can't believe he would do that. Is he really serious about taking the house? I nodded, fresh tears threatening to spill again. It's not just the house, Mia. It feels like he's taking everything we built as a family. How could he betray us like this? Maybe he feels trapped in his own life. You two could talk it out, she suggested gently. But at the moment, that seemed impossible, like asking the ocean to part. The night wore on, and we exchanged stories and laughter, trying to distract from the heaviness. For a brief moment, I felt a flicker of hope, thinking that maybe things could be resolved. But the thought was quickly chased away by the gnawing sense of loss that clouded my mind. When I finally returned home, the house felt emptier than before. Every familiar nook seemed to taunt me with memories of happier times. I tiptoed into the kitchen and flicked on the light, the sudden brightness causing me to squint. The table still held remnants of dinner, half-eaten plates and crumpled napkins, a stark reminder of what had transpired. That I wandered into the living room, where family photos hung on the walls. Smiling faces stared back at me, moments frozen in time. Suddenly, a noise broke through my thoughts, a soft whispering coming from Alex's room. I paused, curiosity piquing against my better judgment. Before I even thought to turn back, I inched closer, the wood floor creaking softly beneath my feet. As I approached, I could hear Alex talking to someone, his voice low and intense. It sounded like an argument, but the other voice was muffled. I strained to catch a word, any word that might shed light on what was happening in his life. Then, a sharp intake of breath startled me. This is my chance, I can't back down now. His voice rose, filled with an urgency that shook me. I froze, fear knotting in my stomach. Who was he talking to? Was there someone else involved in this decision? With a racing heart, I stumbled back, edging toward my room with more questions than answers, a looming sense of dread consuming me. As I closed my door, the weight of uncertainty wrapped around me like a heavy blanket. Had my brother truly changed, or was this just the beginning of a much darker path? The question hung in the air, threatening to unravel every bond we held dear. Sleep eluded me as I lay in bed, my mind churning with thoughts. The echoes of Alex's urgent conversation reverberated in my head. What kind of chance was he referring to? And who could possibly be involved? I felt the distance between us widening, the warmth of our brotherhood replaced by icy apprehension. Morning came too soon, the sunlight spilling through the curtains, illuminating the walls adorned with memories that now felt like mockeries. I wanted to confront Alex, to demand answers, but the weight of my fear held me back. How could I face the brother I barely recognized? I took a deep breath and pulled myself out of bed. I needed to find a way to bridge this gap between us. Maybe if I made a gesture, a small attempt to reconnect, it could open a door to understanding. So I decided to bake. Baking had always been our thing. By mid-morning, the smell of chocolate chip cookies wafted through the house, warm and inviting. The nostalgic aroma tugged at my heart, reminding me of simpler days when our biggest arguments revolved around who got the last cookie. I carefully arranged the freshly baked treats on a plate and waited, hoping he would come down for them. When he finally appeared, still in his rumpled pajamas, the air shifted. The shadows under his eyes spoke of sleepless nights, and for the first time, I saw a glimpse of the brother I once knew, a boy who had struggled to reconcile his dreams with our family expectations. "Hey," I said softly, trying to gauge his mood. "Hey," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. He cast a quick glance at the cookies but didn't move closer. "I made these. Thought we could, I don't know, talk?" I hoped the warmth of the cookies might melt some of the tension that had been building between us. He hesitated briefly, then crossed the room, his steps heavy with the weight of the conversation to come. "Thanks," he muttered, taking a cookie but not looking at me. The silence that followed was suffocating. I wished I could pour out my heart like I had done with Mia, but my voice felt caught in my throat. After a few moments, I summoned the courage to speak. "About last night, I don't understand, Alex. Why are you so intent on fighting us? We're family." He paused mid-bite, his expression shifting to one of frustration. Family? You think this is about family? It's about survival. You've been living in a bubble, while I'm the one who has had to deal with the fallout of Dad's debts. Debts? What debts? I asked, my heart racing. I had no idea there was more at stake. Was that what it all came down to? The house is worth something, and I need a way out, he confessed, his voice cracking slightly. I was going to be the one to save us, but I guess it doesn't matter now. I can help. We can figure this out together, I urged, desperation creeping into my voice. Together? He scoffed, his face hardening. You don't understand, do you? You just want to play it safe, but risk is what we need. You have no idea what I've sacrificed. Anger flared within me. You think I don't know sacrifice? I lost my brother to this madness. You're not the only one carrying a burden. The storm of emotions swirling between us was palpable. Resentment, fear, and a deep longing for the connection we once shared threatened to explode. Alex's eyes softened for a moment, and just as I thought I could break through the wall he had built around him, his phone buzzed from the counter. He glanced at the screen, an unreadable expression crossing his face. I need to take this, he muttered, already stepping away. Alex, wait. But he was gone before I could finish. I felt gut-punched, standing alone in the uneaten cookies and unspoken words, my mind racing with worry. Unable to sit idle, I glanced at the phone that lay face down on the kitchen table. My heart raced, and before I could talk myself out of it, I picked it up. Just as I was about to put it down, an incoming text lit up the screen, the name flashing quickly enough to be seen. Jordan. My breath caught. Who was Jordan? Why was Alex in contact with someone I didn't know? A new wave of uncertainty washed over me as I stared at the phone, clutching it tightly as if it could provide the answers to the infinite questions spinning in my mind. The sound of Alex's voice returned, a whisper in my ear, pleading for understanding as I opened the message, and the weight of its contents crashed over me. I can't keep doing this. There's no turning back now. On the other side of the wall, I heard him, a stranger shrouded in familiar blood, seeking salvation in a place I didn't understand. And just like that, the abyss between us yawned wide, threatening to swallow everything we once cherished. The afternoon sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the living room as I stood frozen, staring at Alex's phone in my hand. The weight of the situation felt like a leaden cloak draped over my shoulders. I wanted to scream, to shove my feelings into the open air until they burst, but the silence thickened around me. Who the hell is Jordan? I muttered to myself, pacing back and forth, trying to process the staggering implications of Alex's hidden life. My heart raced. Whatever deal or arrangement he had with this person seemed murky at best. I glanced at the phone again, considering my next move. With every tick of the clock, anxiety gnawed at my insides, the hastily written messages taunting me. I couldn't keep this to myself. Alex was clearly struggling alone, tangled in something far beyond petty sibling rivalry. My instincts screamed that I needed to reach out to him, to dig deeper. So, I decided to take the plunge, to confront my fears and seek the truth behind this Jordan. As I dialed, the phone felt both familiar and foreign, a bridge suspended over a chasm. When Alex answered, I immediately discerned the unease underlying his voice. What is it? Just tell me who Jordan is, I said, trying to masquerade my rising panic. Why are you talking to him? What's going on? There was a long pause, one that felt heavy with unspoken words and unhealed wounds. It's nothing, he finally said, his tone vehement yet hollow. Just leave it alone. Leave it alone? Alex, you're not doing this alone anymore. This is our life, our family. I could feel the tremor in my voice, the frustration radiating like static electricity. You can't just shut me out. Silence met my words, thickening the air between us. I felt the piercing ache of loss clawing at my heart. Why are you doing this? I pressed. Don't you want to talk about it, to explain? Look, he said, his voice tighter now, it's not that simple. And why should it be? I shot back, desperation clawing at my throat. You think pushing everyone away, even your own brother, is going to help? You can count on me, Alex. You don't have to bear it all yourself. Do you really want to know what's really going on? His tone had shifted. Uncertainty fluttered violently beneath the surface. The vulnerable edge ignited my hopes just a fraction more. More than anything, I whispered, the remaining bravado in my tone fading. The debts, they're worse than you know. I thought I could handle it all. But now I'm tangled with people who don't take no for an answer. His voice cracked, revealing a raw vulnerability that pierced through my worries. Jordan is someone involved in all of this. He's got connections. I thought he could help me find a way out. Help you do what? I asked, trying to grasp the depths of his despair. What are you getting yourself into? I don't want to talk about it over the phone, he said abruptly, his voice shifting to that familiar defensive tone. Can we just not talk about this right now? I need time. How much time do you think you have? I pressed, feeling more helpless with every passing second. You're in over your head, Alex, and I'm not going to stand by while you drown. Before he could respond, I heard a noise echoing through the house. A heavy thud, followed by the unmistakable sound of something breaking. Alex? Panic twisted in my stomach as I dropped the phone and rushed down the hall. What was that? I found him sprawled on the floor, a table lamp lying in pieces beside him, his face pale and a sheen of sweat glistening on his forehead. I'm fine, he stammered, but I could see the struggle in his eyes. No, you're not, I said, kneeling beside him and reaching for his arm. You need help. Just then, Alex's phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with another message from Jordan. Without thinking, I reached out to pick up the device from where I had dropped it, my fingers trembling with a mixture of fear and determination. But just as I turned the phone over, Alex's eyes widened in horror, desperation seemingly breaking through the facade he'd fought so hard to maintain. Don't. We can't let them see us like this. The doorbell rang, cutting through the tension like a knife. My heart raced, and I looked up, catching a glimpse of fear in Alex's pale face. Someone's here, I whispered, anticipation flooding the room. I can't let them in, he breathed, scrambling to his feet with a grace that belied the situation's gravity. But who was at the door? What could this mean for us? My heart raced with uncertainty as I rose beside him, both of us teetering at the edge of the unknown. As the doorbell rang again, an anxious silence enveloped us, the kind that weighs heavy with unspoken fears. My mind raced through possibilities. Was it a friend, looking for comfort we clearly couldn't give? Or was it a stranger, an ominous figure whom Alex had attracted during his spiraling descent? I quickly glanced at Alex, whose face was a mixture of alarm and introspection, his demeanor shifting as if caught in a tempest of memories he couldn't quite escape. Who is it? I asked, my voice barely more than a hoarse whisper. It's probably just the neighbor, he said, forcing an edge of nonchalance into his tone, but the tremor in his hands betrayed him. I knew there was more at stake than he was letting on. The more I observed him, the more it became clear that whatever or whoever was outside, it was pulling him deeper into whatever chaos he was facing. The doorbell chimed again, echoing through the narrow space like an unwelcome ghost. Suddenly, with a rush of determination, I moved toward the door, ready to confront the unknown. I needed to face this together, whatever it was. I'm opening the door, I announced, removing the safety of our solitude with a firm turn of the knob. As I pulled it open, the stormy gray sky greeted me, a cloak of unease swirling in the air. Standing before me was an unexpected figure. An elderly woman with a soft smile and kind eyes, the type of presence that radiated warmth even in the most tumultuous times. Hello, dear, she said, her voice filled with a gentle lilt as she leaned on her cane. I figured I should check in on Alex. I rarely see him anymore. Is he around? I glanced back at Alex, who stood frozen in the hallway, caught between fear and a desperate need for connection. Yeah. He's here, I stammered, aware of the stark contrast between this woman's gentle spirit and the chaos lurking just beneath the surface of our lives. Good. I brought some of that casserole you love, Alex, she continued, oblivious to the palpable tension. I thought it might cheer you up. The warmth of her gesture seemed to momentarily anchor us. Alex's defenses crumbled just a little as a faint smile broke through his anxiety. He regained a shred of composure, stepping into view. Thanks, Mrs. Thompson, he muttered, accepting the dish as if it carried a lifeline within its layers of pasta and cheese. You know, sometimes it helps to share a meal with someone, she said, her eyes sparkling with understanding. You two should eat together. It's important to stay connected, don't you think? At that moment, the scene seemed to encapsulate the tender balance of life. How small acts of kindness can illuminate the darkest of paths. Yet under Mrs. Thompson's warmth, I saw Alex's eyes flicker, trapped in a struggle between his desire to hold on to the past and the inevitable pull of his present reality. After a few moments, the sense of normalcy eclipsed by our shared concern descended like a shadow. I appreciate it really, he finally said, though the knot in my stomach didn't ease. But I think I need some time alone right now. Mrs. Thompson's brow furrowed slightly, concern flooding her features. If you're sure, dear. Just remember, you're never really alone. With that, she turned, her soft footsteps retreating, leaving the tension hanging in the air. Alex's gaze fell to the casserole, and for a moment, I thought he might crumble under the weight of our collected truths. I don't know how to take this anymore, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I can't keep pushing you away when I feel like I'm losing control. And you don't have to, I replied, desperation creeping in once again. But you need to let me in, Alex. Let me help. The air grew heavy with longing, all the burdens we carried intertwining in a moment that felt both fragile and monumental. But just as that flicker of connection began to take root, Alex flinched, as if something deep within him resisted danger cloaked in familiarity. Suddenly the phone buzzed again, and we both turned instinctively. It was another message from Jordan, illuminating the ever-widening gap between us. I reached for it, my heart pounding, the impulse to know overwhelming. What if that's him? What if he's the one who's really pulling you into this? I can't, Alex blurted, a fierce protectiveness igniting in his eyes. You don't understand what I'm dealing with. And in those few words, I felt a chilling truth settle over us, weaving its way through the disquiet in my heart. What if this was not just about debts and secrets, but something far more sinister? Before I could respond, Alex's face twisted in horror, his eyes wide with dread, whispering, I saw something. I don't think Jordan is who he says he is. A sudden surge of panic coursed through me as I realized the implications of his words. What do you mean? I asked, breathless. Just let's not talk about it now. But I'm afraid of what's coming, he murmured, his expression tormented. The phone buzzed again, and without thinking, I reached for it. The screen illuminated a message that would change everything. Your time is almost up. We'll be coming for you soon. You can't run from your debts forever. My heart plunged into the abyss as I exchanged a horrified glance with Alex. In that moment, I realized that we were no longer facing just his ghosts. Whatever shadows lurked around us were now closing in, and we were both teetering on the precipice of something we could never have anticipated. The night widened before us, filled with uncertainty, shadows, and the inescapable knowledge that our fight was only beginning. The chill of the message lingered in the air, wrapping around us like an icy tendril that refused to let go. I could feel the weight of Alex's stare on me, his panic blending with mine, thickening the silence between us. Each heartbeat echoed the urgency of the situation, reminding me that we were standing at the edge of a precipice, staring down into a chasm filled with uncertainty and danger. Who is they? What do they want? I whispered, my voice breaking as the fear clawed at my throat. I can't explain right now, Alex replied, his hand running through his disheveled hair in a mix of frustration and desperation. I wish I could, but it's complicated. I thought I could handle it. I thought I could keep you out of it. As he turned away, the lines of his back seemed to hold all the weight he'd been carrying, as if he were a fortress failing under siege. Every part of me wanted to pull him back, to remind him that we were in this together. But with the specter of that message looming over us, I started to wonder if this was a battle I could handle. I'm not letting you face this alone, Alex, I said firmly, my resolve hardening. Whatever it is, we're facing it together. His shoulders slumped, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw a flicker of vulnerability, the same vulnerability I'd witnessed in the terrifying depths of those late-night conversations. You don't know what you're asking, he murmured, almost too low for me to hear. But before I could respond, the door swung open again, spilling in a burst of cold air. My heart raced. It was Jordan, the very person whose name hung in the air like a storm cloud. And his presence struck me with a furious mix of dread and curiosity. Nice evening for a visit, isn't it? He said, leaning against the door frame with a smug grin that felt like ice on my skin. His eyes flicked from me to Alex, and instantly the atmosphere shifted, an electric tension pulsing between us. "What are you doing here?" Alex demanded, tension warping his voice. Jordan stepped further inside, acting as if he owned the place. "Just thought I'd drop by, see how you're holding up. Heard there's been a little gossip floating around." I felt Alex stiffen next to me, a wall of tension building between the three of us. It felt like we were teetering on the edge of a cliff, with Jordan ready to push us into the abyss below. "You need to leave," Alex warned, his voice steady but laced with an undercurrent of fear that never fully dissipated. "Oh, I don't think so," Jordan replied, his smile widening, revealing the edges of a predatory intent. "You see, I'm here to help you, Alex, really. You're in over your head, and I've come to offer my support." "By threatening us?" I spat back, a surge of anger rushing through me. "This isn't help. It's manipulation." Jordan's laughter echoed in the small space, each peal underscoring the fear that clung to us. "Is that what you think? You're naive. You have no idea what I can offer you both. The weight of all your troubles could vanish with just one little agreement." Alex's eyes flicked to me, and in that instant, I understood the panic that was consuming him. Was this what he had feared? That Jordan would bring chaos back into our lives, further unraveling the fragile threads of control we had fought so hard to maintain. "What agreement?" Alex asked, his voice trembling. "This place has its price, but with the right negotiations, everything can be made easier, all your worries dispelled." There was a directness to Jordan's gaze that sent fear coursing through me. It was more than just a promise. It was a threat cloaked in honeyed words, a promise laced with chains. But before the tension could reach its tipping point, the phone buzzed again, seemingly determined to pierce through the charged air. I glanced at the screen, my stomach knotting as I read the new message. "Remember, there's always a price to pay. Don't think you can escape unscathed." In the silence that followed, it felt as if the world had paused, holding its breath in anticipation. Alex and I exchanged a panicked glance, the gravity of our reality pulling us further into a murky abyss where hope flickered dimly, and the shadows pressed all around us. "Leave now, Jordan," Alex yelled suddenly, a surge of courage flooding his voice. "You don't control me. I'm done with your games." But Jordan just laughed, the sound sharp and mocking. "You think you can walk away from this? You can't escape your past. Not now, not ever." As his words sank in, I felt the ground beneath us begin to quake. The memories that Alex had tried to bury were clawing their way to the surface, and I could sense the conflict raging within him between fear and defiance, between truth and deception. But what remained unspoken, hanging heavy between us, was an unshakable journey that neither of us was prepared for. Suddenly, with a decisive nod, Alex stepped forward, clutching my hand tightly. "Well, face it together," he declared, the fierceness of his determination clashing against the uncertainty swirling in my heart. Jordan's laugh faded into silence, but a glint of victory flashed in his eyes. As he slowly backed away, he left us standing on the precipice, facing an unknown future. "You're right, Alex. You will face it with me or without me. But remember, it always comes down to choosing between love and survival. Choose wisely." The door closed with a finality that left a palpable chill in the air. Alone once more, I turned to Alex, our joined hands a fragile lifeline against the chaos. As we faced the uncertainty of our path ahead, the next tremor jolted me, the truth still lingering in the air, a secret that had broken free, and in doing so, had set us both on a collision course we never saw coming. The room felt smaller as shadows danced in the corners, thickening the air with an invisible pressure. Alex, still holding my hand, seemed to be grappling with the storm brewing within him. I searched his eyes, desperately hoping for some reassurance, but all I found was a myriad of emotions: fear, anger, guilt, and a flicker of hope. It was overwhelming, and part of me wanted to retreat into the comforting embrace of ignorance, to ignore the reality tightening around us. "What do you think he meant by the price?" I finally asked, my voice barely above a whisper, as if speaking too loud would invoke Jordan back into our midst. Alex's gaze shifted from mine to the empty doorway, his jaw clenched as he wrestled with his thoughts. "I don't know, but I won't let him control us. We can't give in. We just have to find a way to protect ourselves." "Preserve ourselves," I echoed, feeling the weight of those words. We were at war not just against Jordan's threats, but against the darkness of our own fears beginning to surge forward like a rising tide, threatening to drown us both. That I can't, his voice cracked, emotions spilling over like a broken dam. I can't let you get hurt. Not because of my past. The sincerity in his eyes sent a ripple of warmth through me. We're in this together, Alex. You've carried so much already. Just let me in. A flicker of hope sparkled in his eyes, but it flickered out too quickly. He paced the room, deep in thought, a restless energy consuming him. I wrapped my arms around myself, staring at the patch of light that its way through the window. The world beyond seemed oblivious to our turmoil, life continuing blithely, unaware of the chaos that had unfolded here. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. My heart leapt into my throat as I exchanged another worried glance with Alex. Do you think it's him again? I don't know, he replied, his voice tense. Just be careful. With a trembling heart, I approached the door, my hand hovering over the knob. Every instinct screamed for me to back away. But I opened it slowly, revealing a woman I recognized vaguely from the neighborhood. She was older, with kind eyes that held a hint of worry. Hi dear, she said, her voice soft yet steady. I'm Mrs. Reynolds from down the street. I noticed some commotion, and I just wanted to check if everything is all right. My breath caught. A moment of kindness from a stranger at that moment. It felt like a lifeline. Yes, we're fine, thank you for checking. Mrs. Reynolds studied me, her gaze lingering on my worried expression. You don't look fine, honey, she said. Is there anything I can do? I hesitated, grappling with the layers of chaos swirling just beneath my surface. Would sharing our fears with a stranger only unravel us further? Then again, perhaps the weight of our secrets could lighten if they were shared, offered to someone untainted by our conflicts. Well, there's some family trouble, I admitted finally, my voice catching in my throat. She nodded knowingly. Family can sometimes be heavier than the world itself. But remember, it's okay to ask for help. Before I could respond, Alex came up behind me, his hand resting on my back, a subtle reminder that I wasn't alone, even in the midst of uncertainty. Thank you for your concern, he said, a hint of gratitude threading through his voice. Well managed, Mrs. Reynolds looked between us, her expression softening. Just know you can always come to me, should you need anything. My door is always open. She offered a reassuring smile before walking back toward her home, leaving us with a newfound sense of warmth amidst the swirling frost of our predicament. As the door closed again, the solace that had washed over me faded, replaced by the weight of what was to come. What do we do now? I murmured, loss surging like a tide in my chest. We prepare, Alex replied, each word laced with purpose. We need to gather information, figure out what we're dealing with. If Jordan thinks he can intimidate us, he's sorely mistaken. But as we stood side by side, an unfamiliar tension gripped Medhat. Something deeper was at play, something I still didn't fully comprehend. It was as if the roots of our lives were being pulled up, revealing scars that had lain hidden beneath the surface. And then, there was another buzz from my phone, the tone sharp in the stillness. Hesitantly, I reached for it, fingers trembling as I opened the message. My breath caught as I read the chilling words. You should have listened to me. Not everything is what it seems. Sometimes betrayal comes from the closest ties. The implications of the message unfurled before me, a dark tapestry woven with threads of doubt. Fear surged within me anew, and as I looked at Alex, the gravity of my heart felt heavy with the unfamiliar weight of uncertainty. Alex, I whispered, the finality pressing against my chest as the room closed in, revealing a startling truth. The one thing I hadn't accounted for was our own family's shadow inching closer, weaving its way through our lives like a dark specter, poised to unravel everything we thought we knew. The air seemed thick with unspoken words, each moment stretching out like an eternity as I stared at the stark glow of my phone screen. The message lingered, taunting and insinuating with its dark implications, shadows creeping into our shared light. A sick feeling draped itself around my stomach, a vice tightening with the thought that someone close was orchestrating this chaos behind the scenes. What is it? Alex asked, his voice barely a murmur, but laced with a raw, anxious undertone. I hesitated, the reality of the message crashing over me. It's someone knows about us. They're warning me. I looked up at him, desperate for reassurance that we could handle whatever was coming. Warning you. His brow furrowed, and I could sense the storm brewing again in his eyes, mingling with anger. From whom? I took a deep breath, my mouth suddenly feeling too dry. I don't know, I admitted, my voice strained. But they mentioned betrayal coming from close ties. Alex's gaze hardened, fury flashing beneath the surface. It could be Jordan trying to mess with your head. But if he's trying to wreck us from the inside, we need to act fast. His reaction mirrored my thoughts. Both of us acutely aware that the threat wasn't just external anymore. It nestled within the very fabric of our lives, a treacherous weave that threatened to pull us apart. Can we trust anyone? I whispered, my voice shaking under the weight of that question. A silence settled between us, heavy and oppressive, as Alex grappled with the enormity of what lay ahead. We have to, he finally said, his voice steady but pained. If we're going to face this, we need allies. But we also need to be cautious. It was a faint glimmer of hope, like a single candle flickering in a darkened room. Yet, as quick as it emerged, another doubt clawed its way into my mind. But who? I asked, my voice cracking. How can we trust anyone? Just then, the front door swung open again, and in walked my brother, Tyler, as if summoned by the storm raging in our hearts. You two look like you've seen a ghost, he said, his voice dripping with an easy laughter that felt entirely out of place. Everything about this moment felt wrong. Tyler's arrival burrowed deep into my thoughts, pinching them, restricting the flow of our already strained conversation. I exchanged an anxious glance with Alex before forcing a smile. Hey Ty, what brings you here? Just thought I'd drop by for dinner. I brought some of that lasagna Mom made last week, he said, holding up the heavy container triumphantly. Thought it'd be nice to catch up. That I felt a pang of warmth at the thought of his casual gesture, but I couldn't shake the unease that had settled like lead in my chest. Dinner sounds great, I said, trying to keep my tone light, though the weight of secrecy loomed heavily in the air. Alex stepped forward, his posture shifting from apprehension to a guarded curiosity. You okay with this, Tyler? He asked, a hint of protectiveness threading through his voice. Of course, man, Tyler replied, his grin widening, but I sensed an edge to it. I could almost see him indulging in something he wasn't ready to share. What are brothers for? As I began setting the table, an unspoken tension filled the room, each movement drenched in the shadows of our shared truths. The clatter of cutlery echoed, a reminder that life continued spinning around us even as our insides churned with uncertainty. Amidst the conversations, I noticed Alex retreating into himself, the earlier flare of confidence extinguishing beneath the weight of doubt. Hey, I leaned closer to him, hoping to draw him out. We'll figure this out, I promised. He glanced back at me, his eyes a storm of emotions, but the flicker of gratitude I caught gave me hope. Dinner unfolded uneasily, every bite tasting like wood as anxious moments layered over one another. Tyler laughed about mundane things, recounting stories that felt entirely detached from the reality wrapping around us. I wanted to lose myself in the ease of his stories, but that dark specter persisted, a reminder that safety was an illusion. Around the table, Tyler's phone buzzed repeatedly, flashing notifications that I couldn't help but notice. Each time he glanced at the screen, his expression shifted, a brief shadow crossing his features, an unconfessed secret teetering on the edge of revelation. Finally, he excused himself, stepping into the other room for a moment. In those fleeting seconds, I turned to Alex. What if he's involved? I whispered harshly, my voice barely above a murmur. The thought clawed at my heart, images of mistrust slithering into place. I don't know, he replied, a grimace flashing across his face. But we have to consider everyone as a potential risk until we understand fully. A knot twisted in my stomach. Before I could respond, Tyler reappeared. That unsettling grin stretched across his face again. Sorry about that. Just needed to check on something. As I looked at him, searching for signs of secrets buried too deep to fathom, the dinner stretched on, confusion weaving through our laughter. And then, amidst the light-hearted setting, his phone chirped with another message, audible to all, the words screeching through the jovial facade. You don't know what I know. It's time to face the truth. Everything froze around me as the implications set in. My brother's face drained of color. And for the first time that evening, the air thickened with something far more dangerous than doubt. the imminent crack of betrayal lurking just beneath the surface. Our lives suspended in a precarious moment where trust hung by a thread. The room fell silent. The jovial atmosphere shattered like glass under a hammer's blow. I felt a chill race down my spine as I locked eyes with Tyler. His expression shifted from carefree to a pinpoint focus, his mouth nearly tightening into a grim line. I could sense a storm brewing behind those eyes. A dive into futures that none of us were prepared for. "What are you talking about?" I managed to stammer, my voice nearly a whisper as the words clawed their way out of me. Desperation wrapping around each syllable. Tyler shifted, his casual demeanor crumbling as he stood frozen, hands deep in his pockets. It was just a joke. You know how it is, right?" His laughter felt strained, a forced release of tension that only deepened the uncertainty filling the air. "Ty, that didn't sound like a joke," Alex replied slowly, his voice patriarchal as he engaged Tyler's nervousness. "What do you know? And how does this relate to what's going on?" I could barely breathe, my fingers tightening against the edge of the table as I willed myself to remain steady, my heart racing as if it were trying to escape. Tyler's smile faltered for just a moment, but it was enough to shift the gears in my mind, enough to ignite a flicker of dread that I just meant his words stumbled over themselves. An avalanche of hesitation bearing down on him. That sometimes family doesn't reveal the whole truth. Things are complicated. Complicated or not, we deserve honesty, Alex interjected, determination clinging to his tone. I could feel the tension between them rising, a silent standoff emerging as vessel for their feelings, the protective instinct against a brother's blind loyalty. "That I know you've all got secrets, but we're family," Tyler shot back, somewhat defensively. "Is it wrong to want to protect the people I care about?" In a moment that felt like an eternity, the answer seemed to hang palpably in the air, waiting for someone to take hold of it and unleash it. I had to know, but the fear clawed back at my resolve. "Tyler, just tell us the truth," I urged, my voice trembling as I wrestled my emotions, wrestling with black anxiety gripping my chest. "Are you protecting us or yourself?" He shifted again, the uncertainty thickening between us. "It's not what it seems." But the words were caught in his throat, leaving a tender ache that wrapped around my heart, a strange mixture of love and fear. I wanted him to open up, to reveal any hidden truths before this darkness swallowed us whole. The phone buzzed again, this time with a sharpness that cracked through the silence. Tyler instinctively reached for it, glancing at the screen, but suddenly a shadow passed over his face. "I have to take this," he muttered, moving away from the table. My heart raced as he vanished down the hall, leaving Alex and me in the thick tension that now draped over our dinner like a heavy winter coat. "What do you think he's hiding?" I whispered, the knots in my stomach tightening further. Too tangled in knots to even think straight. "I don't know, but whatever it is, it's clearly weighing heavily on him," Alex said. His brows furrowed as he stared at the doorway where Tyler had just disappeared. "We can't ignore it. We'll need to confront him together." But even as he said the words, dread settled like a stone in the pit of my stomach. Who could we trust now? A brother on edge. A partner fighting to maintain composure. The uncertainty was a cocktail of despair that I desperately yearned to drown. Minutes ticked by painfully, the distant murmur of Tyler's voice filtering back from the hallway, becoming overshadowed by an ominous silence. It felt like we were suspended in a moment of drowning uncertainty, and every second dragged like the weight of a leaden anchor. Finally, Tyler returned to the table, and the air shifted again, this time containing an unshakable intensity. His eyes darted between us, that familiar grin completely etched away. "Sorry for that," he started, but the light-heartedness was stripped from his voice. "There's something you both need to know." My heart thudded painfully in my chest as I strained to listen. "What is it?" I practically begged. The tremor in his voice promised more than I was prepared for. "The truth is, there's something bigger involved in all this. Something I didn't want to drag you into." But now his face paled, clarity dawning in shades of anguish. "Now I think it's caught up with us." "How could it possibly involve us?" Alex asked, his voice rising as he leaned forward, urgency pushing through. Just then Tyler's phone buzzed for the umpteenth time. He hesitated, looking at the screen, and I caught a glimpse of dread flickering in his eyes. It's about the message. The one you got," about losing trust. It's connected to something I did. In that moment, everything shattered. The strange, tumultuous web of betrayal and fear, spun so tightly around us, was about to disclose its fatal truth. Tyler, what did you do? I breathed, dread settling in my bones as the implications unfurled. As he opened his mouth to respond, there was an unmistakable ring to my phone that shattered the silence, a number I recognized, but that I had hoped never to see again. Hello? I said, my voice almost lost in the storm of emotions as I answered, the air thickening around me. Caught in the midst of treachery and despair. Do you want to know what I know? The voice on the other end taunted, sending chills racing through my veins. Before I could muster even a breath, Tyler's face turned to stone. And in that beat, I understood it was far more than the three of us standing on the precipice of disaster. Our lives were about to spiral into a darkness way beyond anything we had feared, as ties of love intertwined with betrayal. Everything hung in the balance, and the truth was still hiding in the shadows, lurking, just waiting to devour us. I awoke to the relentless beating of my heart echoing in my ears, the previous night's events replaying through my mind like a twisted film loop. The sun had barely nudged its way into the sky, casting long shadows through my window, and I felt lost in the uncertainty swirling around me. I couldn't shake the voice on the phone or the implications of Tyler's secrecy. It felt as if walls of trust were crumbling around us, leaving only a dark chasm of betrayal in their wake. How had we gotten here? With each breath, I could still hear Jordan's sinister words reverberating in my mind, the threats. The warning of betrayal etched into my thoughts like indelible ink. When had our family become a battlefield, and how had I missed the signs? The specter of fear hung heavy in the air, grinding my stomach and weighing on my heart that I dragged myself from the cocoon of blankets, each movement feeling heavier than the last. The kitchen pulled me in. Its warmth was familiar, yet it felt tainted. The remnants of the previous night's lasagna still sat starkly on the counter, a lonely reminder of a seemingly innocent dinner that had erupted into chaos. I rifled through the drawers, searching for some semblance of normalcy. An unexpected knock on the door caught me off guard. I paused, my heart racing again, unsure if facing whatever waited on the other side felt brave or foolish. I gathered my courage and opened it. A frail but resolute Mrs. Thompson stood there, her kind eyes immediately bringing a sense of comfort amidst the turmoil. "Good morning, dear," she spoke softly, holding a wicker basket filled with fresh pastries. "I made some extras today. Thought you might enjoy them." For a moment, the world outside faded. I could feel the warmth of her gesture weaving its way through my despair. "Thank you," I murmured, desperately clinging to the kindness she offered. Just when I thought I could break free from the heaviness of the last few days, she looked at me, a weighty sadness fluttering in her gaze. "You know, dear, sometimes we hold on to pain long after it served its purpose. Do take care of yourselves," she advised softly before leaving me with those words hanging in the air like the aroma of her pastries. I closed the door. I felt the fracture in my heart shift slightly. It was a vague reminder that it was okay to let love in, even when shadows loomed large. I wandered into the living room, where the flickering morning light illuminated the walls adorned with family photos. Rows of smiles brimming with love were frozen in time, taunting me with their nostalgia. The knot in my stomach tightened once more as memories collided with the present. The laughter, the bond. Could we ever regain that innocence? Could we rebuild? The phone buzzed again, bringing me back to reality. My heart dropped as I glanced at the screen, recognizing the number, the one that had haunted me. I could choose to silence it, but a deeper instinct compelled me to answer. "Hello," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "Looks like you wanted answers." The voice dripped with cold confidence, each word slithering under my skin. "You can't pursue this path without knowing the truth. Your brother, Tyler, he's tangled in something dangerous. Something he's been hiding from you." "Stop," I interrupted, anger sparking a fire in my belly. "What do you know about my family?" "Everything," he mocked, the tension coiling tighter around my chest. "You think ignorance is bliss, but knowledge is power. You're standing in the darkness, love. The truth waits just beyond that veil. Are you ready to see it?" I exhaled sharply, a mix of fear and determination swirling inside me. "Tell me. Meet me at the old bridge at noon. Don't bring anyone else. If you want the truth of your family's ties, That's the only way. And with that, the line went dead. I dropped the phone. The realization crashing over me like a wave. I could either choose to stay sheltered in ignorance or grapple with the truth, however painful it may be. The clock ticked away as I stared at the ceiling, the seconds passing like minutes, my thoughts racing with unfiltered dread. I felt a sense of urgency simmering within me as I glanced at my phone again, pondering whether I should call Alex or Tyler. Both felt like islands of uncertainty I wasn't ready to explore. Yet the weight of the threat felt far too real to dismiss. As the clock struck noon, I felt gravity pull me forward, leading me to seek clarity amidst the chaos. I arrived at the old bridge, each step heavy with anticipation. Breathless and quaking, there seemed charged, like an electric storm primed to unleash chaos. The water below rippled uncertainly as I steadied myself, scanning the surroundings for the figure I had come to meet. Right on time, a voice emerged from the shadows, and I turned to face Jordan, his face illuminated by the midday sun. A glance sharp and calculating. "You look like you've been through the ringer." "Enough with the flattery," I retorted, standing my ground despite the rising trepidation. "What do you know about my brother?" "Everything you've chosen to ignore, sweetheart." His grin was predatory, as if he relished the dominion he wielded over my fears. I steeled myself, holding on to that flicker of courage. "What have you done to him?" "Not me, dear. The truth always has a way of surfacing, doesn't it?" He took a step closer, the glint in his eye unnerving. "Tyler has a past he hasn't shared, and the debts he's inherited have rippled through the family. He isn't just a good boy playing house, has deals with people who don't take no for an answer." With each word, the world around me felt like it was crumbling further. "You're lying," I shot back, stubbornly fighting against the turmoil blossoming inside me. Jordan stepped back, feigning a gesture of innocence. "Am I? Or are you simply too blinded by loyalty to see the storm brewing beneath your very feet? Those we love often hurt us the worst." My heart raced along with my thoughts, the danger, the betrayal. It was all becoming far too real. "I don't believe you. If anything, this just feels like another one of your games." Jordan smirked, as if had been waiting for me to reach this moment. "Ah, but this game you're playing now, it isn't just about you anymore. It's about survival, darling. Love only gets you so far in this world. And trust is the first casualty." The knot in my chest tightened painfully. The truth unfolding as I stumbled through the revelation. Could Tyler be the villain in the story? Would this betrayal shatter everything we held dear? "You think you're saving him, but you're merely delaying the inevitable. When the chips are down, you'll have to choose family or truth." Before I could respond, he stepped back into the shadows, leaving me trembling on the edge of the bridge, heart heavy with the task ahead. With shaky breaths, I sought clarity amid the chaos. If I had any chance of facing whatever storm was heading our way, I needed to confront Tyler, to face him with an open heart and understanding. When I returned home, the weight of my decision pressed down on me. I found Tyler sitting at the kitchen table, his gaze distant as if wrestling with quiet demons. "Tyler," I began hesitantly, my heart pounding. "We need to talk." He looked up at me slowly, uncertainty clouding his features. "What's going on? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Not a ghost, but a reality too dark to ignore. I need the truth now." His expression shifted, apprehension flickering across his face, igniting a new spark of courage within me. "You've heard? Jordan knows things, Tyler, about you, about us. You can't keep hiding from this. We're family, and if we're going to get through this, we need to face whatever it is together." Tears brimmed in his eyes, the burdens of unspoken fears etching lines on his face. "I never wanted you to be involved, to see me like this." "Like this?" I echoed, stepping closer, hoping to bridge the gap that had grown between us. "We're in this together. Don't you see? Whatever it takes, we face it as a family. You don't have to suffer alone." His shoulders trembled lightly, and I could see the walls starting to fall away as a raw vulnerability seeped through. "I thought I could shield you. From it. From everything I've done. Tell me," I pleaded, my voice a mixture of strength and desperation. "Just let me in." His eyes reflected a kaleidoscope of fear and love, and with a deep breath he spoke. "I owe money. More than I can pay back. I thought I could make enough to handle it, but it's spiraled out of control, and I didn't want to drag you down with me." Tears slipped down his cheeks, and I felt the weight of unspoken words between us. But we're family regardless of what errors we've made. If we face this together, maybe we can find a way. That I didn't want you to see me this way, he whispered, choking on his emotions. Let me see you, Tyler. All of you, I said, the warmth in my voice softening the tension. If Jordan threatens you, he threatens us. But together we stand a chance. The fear dissipated under the power of our raw connection. I saw my brother break under the weight of his shame as he nodded. And in that moment, the shroud of betrayal began to peel away. The clarity paved the way for healing. The sun was setting, casting a golden hue that embraced us in warmth, illuminating the cracks of our fading trust. Standing together as a family, everything felt possible. Let's face whatever comes next, I said, holding his hands, and I felt the bond weave back together, stronger this time, resilient against whatever darkness lay ahead. Because in the end, love, open and unafraid, was always the anchor that would guide us back home. And together, we were ready to confront the truths that awaited us. Out there in the unpredictable world ahead. Like a golem forged in fire turning toward the light. And with every beat of our hearts, we could rise anew, unyielding in our determination to reclaim our family and face that uncertain future together this time. Not just as brothers, but as allies forged in shared strength and relentless love.